Welcome to Coffee with Screams, a coffee break podcast. Uh, yeah.
Because sometimes you just need a little coffee break.
Yeah, there it is. I'm Alex.
And I'm Danelle.
Welcome, everybody. This is our first episode, and it's hopefully going to be something we do. I don't know what the schedule is for this or like how often we're going to do it. Maybe we,
Mhm.
we, we said bi-monthly or bi-weekly or it's a bi-weekly, right? So
Yeah,
hopefully that's the case. But we're just going to go with the flow, right?
absolutely, absolutely.
Um, so I'm Alex. I guess since this is the first episode, and um, there are people that might know me from what I do and you from what you do. We could
Hmm.
maybe introduce ourselves first, and then get into
Okay.
what we want to talk about. So I'll go ahead and go first. My name is Alex. I'm a content creator here on YouTube. I run a channel called Turbo Zone Gaming. I also already have another podcast called The Button Mappers, and I do a bunch of retro gaming themed things.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
And and I'm Danelle. I am a big gamer at heart. I stream occasionally, whenever I have the time, and more so like a hobby. I love interacting with people, getting to know people, just talking about life with people.
Yeah. You want to
Yeah.
plug your streaming your Twitch?
Oh yeah. My Twitch is twitch.tv/cfdemi. Feel free to give me a follow. I really don't have a schedule. It's just more so like availability. I'm leaning more towards like weekends, maybe some weekday afternoons if I'm not too tired from work.
Yeah. Awesome. And you mainly stream like multiplayer games. I noticed, right?
Yes, yes. Although I'm leaning more towards like some variety games. I've just been playing uh some Repo. It's a new like horror indie game that's been out for a little bit. Valorant is a big one, multiplayer shooter, first person shooter. More of my cup of tea. Looking to, venture out in some RPG who's been told about there's like a new RuneScape. I have a friend recommended me trying out.
Awesome.
She says it's pretty fun. Yeah.
So I guess our kind of goal with this podcast, our mission is to like we really want to focus on like I guess like mental health or like lifestyle.
Hmm. Hmm.
And we could talk about other things. We could talk about gaming or music
Right,
or
right.
music,
Hmm.
whatever you want to talk about. Movies, music, gaming, anime. Who cares?
All the fun stuff.
Yeah. But we just want this to be like a fun space to like chill out. Maybe you're having a bad
Hmm.
day. You can come hang out with us. And
Exactly. Yep.
yeah. So we do have a topic today. Danelle wanted to do this one first, and I thought it was a really good
Hmm.
topic. You wanted to bring up friendships and conflicts.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I feel like um just the way that I grew up, conflict was very much avoided. And I definitely carried that into early on relationships. And I didn't realize it at the time, but the more time's gone by, a lot of reflecting, I realized it's also carried over in my friendships as well. And I think here recently I've been doing a lot of like, I guess like deep diving into, friendships, being that, I moved to a new state, lovely state of Texas, about like 2 months ago. And, starting a whole new life, left like friends, family behind, and just like making new friendships. And then just realizing that like the different friendships I've had over the years and like how some of them have come to an end due to like conflicts that I feel like were very minor in the past, but at the time it just became more major than it should have been. Like it overshadowed um just a friendship, and I realized time is very valuable. Um so you want to make it count. And I feel like ending friendships over very small, minor disagreements is, I don't know, not a good feeling, I guess, in
No.
the end of it. Yeah.
It's very true. So you were like,
Hmm.
so you think like that has to do with like your upbringing of like conflict avoidance?
Yes, yes. I feel like that played a big role. I very much shy away from conflict. It just I think I tend to overthink a lot, and I think, of course, I think of the worst of the worst. So a little bit of anxiety playing a role in there too. Um, so I just always felt like a villain. And sometimes I even felt like most of the times is that like they were the villain. Like it wasn't me and them versus the problem, it was me versus them and like how it came to ultimately.
Yeah, so you didn't feel like a team, I guess, right?
No, definitely did
Which
not feel like a team.
which is common like in relationships, and I find that with
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
I find with like a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people, especially like, I mean, friendships. Yeah, I also think
Yes.
like it happens in like romantic relationships too, where like
Mm-hmm.
there is
Mm-hmm.
an issue and it becomes more about like, well, I can't be with you because of this issue, not like how can we solve this issue,
Yes,
you know?
exactly. Exactly. Yep. That is a great way to putting it.
Yeah. And that's just not something I do. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
I grew up with, you know, my family's pretty loving and caring, and they've always told me to like respect myself, you know, and that's kind of
Mm-hmm.
like the environment I grew up in, and I sort of like, I think I respect myself too much to like to a fault, to where like
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of the opposite. Like, it's not that I won't tackle a conflict, but like if I see somebody that's actively like not on my team, I'll be like, well, then
Mm-hmm.
we're not. You're not in this with me, and we're done. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like,
Yep.
and you know that's
Very much felt like that.
yeah. And we can talk more about that. I did want to bring up that you know, people are seeing us on camera for the first time, and they're gonna probably gonna be like, Who, what?" Like people that know me or people that
Like,
know
what is
you.
going on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do want to say, like, you mentioned you just moved. Before, I don't want to say what or where because I still hold
Mm-hmm.
this job, but before you left, we worked together for I don't know, like what, 4 months or something.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah,
About four
yeah,
months.
about oh yeah, about 4 months, and then you moved, you know, out of
Yes.
from Kentucky to Texas,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, and you know, then we decided to do this podcast, you know, and we're you know we still we're still pals.
I'm still working on a, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Oops, I left my ringer on my phone. Did you hear that? That
Yes.
was
That was a
this.
loud ring.
That was the Sonic ring loss sound whenever Sonic gets hit. Whenever Sonic
Oh,
gets hit and like
okay.
all his rings
Yes.
fall out of his pocket, you know, I was like, oh
That's
shit.
exactly, yep.
So yeah, so that's kind of like where we are. Like we're still like we're friends, you know, but like, um, yeah, it's like again at this time like what, 6 months. So
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's been like 6 months. It's
it's
crazy.
easy
Oh, half
because
a year.
it's easy for me to track because you started that job like 2 weeks after me. So all I have to do is look at how long I've been at that job, and then I have to be like, oh, well, that's how long
Oh.
I've known Danelle.
Yeah, no, same. It was good times too.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
I'm actually, yeah, I'm actually pretty glad that we met.
yeah. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, it was great. It's great getting to like, it works a lot easier whenever you have somebody there with you that like you can really like, I don't know, just be friends with and chill out with, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Bye, make jokes, laugh, makes the
Yeah.
time go by faster, makes the mundane task of work not feel so mundane, kind of like flies by.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely noticed like after you left I had the issue
Hmm.
of like there was a while there too where like they didn't replace you, so I was just kind of on my own a lot. And it was just like,
Really?
yeah, it was like that the
Hmm.
last like 3 hours of the day just became, it's
It just dragged.
it just dragged
Yeah.
out, where I was like, oh my god, like what
Right
did I,
after lunch, right? You're just
yeah,
like, oh my
yeah, I
God.
was like, what did I
Yeah.
do before? What did I do?
Why did it seem so fast before?
Yeah, yeah, but really it was just because I had somebody to like chill out with, you know. um
Exactly.
so yeah, I mean, you just moved to Texas. Do you, has it like impacted friendships, or like, I don't know, what's got this on your
Um,
mind?
a little bit. I had a old friend of mine reach out, and she's like but we have those that kind of established friendship where we don't need to talk all the time. We don't talk like every day. But when we do, we like catch up, and talk about like good old times of when we like were super close and like we were like roommates at one point, like times like that, and like the friends we made back then, the job, because we also met through a workplace that we both worked at, funnily enough. But she was just like, what are you up to now? And then she mentioned that I wasn't like very much active on social media, and it kind of sucked because she doesn't really get to know like what's going on in my life unless I'm like directly telling her what's going on. And so I guess that kind of like opened up a little bit rabbit hole after that conversation where I was just looking through like old pictures of like when we were like really good friends, like in the beginning stages of our friendship. And then I went down a rabbit hole of just like looking through pictures and then like remembering like, oh, like I used to like have these friendships, like people I've met in the past. I like they're no longer in my life or, like they're not someone I call a friend anymore. And, a couple of them I felt like were pretty solid, like in the reasoning of why we're not friends. But, there are still a couple of those that like every now and then it like lingers in my mind, like what could have been, if things were different, like maybe better conflict resolution from my end, like I'm always thinking like if there's just something more that I could have done to salvage that friendship. Um, and I think a big thing is also like ego or like pride really takes a place there where I feel like if I've been wronged in some way, I feel like it's not my responsibility to reach out or to like, you know, apologize. Because I feel like I've done that in the past, and it's just like fallen on deaf ears. Um, but really like, and then it goes back to life is very short. Like, why wouldn't I want to? You never know what could come from that. But and then I get into like this silly mindset, like, what if I'm like that toxic ex that's like reaching out, rehashing those memories is kind of like I get those like I get stuck in that thought. And I'm like, oh, should I even bother reaching out?
I think it's
So I guess a little regret. Hmm.
I think it's common. Okay, so we're like around the same age.
Right.
I'm a couple years older, but we're like around the same age.
Hmm.
I think it's
Hmm.
common for people our age to sort of like lose base with a lot of your friends around this time,
Hmm.
because
Hmm.
when you're like becoming an adult. Well, like I say becoming an adult, but like when come on, early 20s, you're not an adult. You're just a kid with money.
No, no. And you think you are, but you're
No,
not. You're really not.
you're
And
just a
then
kid with money. Yeah.
yes, yes. A kid with money is the best way to put it. And that's how I felt. And now, as I get into this lovely age, it's just like a lot of reflection. I'm like, oh wow, like the things that we prioritize at the time, crazy. The things that we chase, like, I feel like a big thing I wish, I mean, even if I was told, I wouldn't have like been very receptive just because of the mindset that you're in when you're younger. Like you think you know yourself, you think you know the world around you, and that's not true. Like you just started, like you're a baby, like a bird, a baby bird emerging from your nest, like being pushed, like the mother bird's pushing you, life is pushing you to venture out and see the world. And
Yeah.
that's how I kind of feel. It's like you're just thrown out there, and some people are pretty receptive. They get their head on straight pretty early on. I mean, a lot of people are just like aimlessly wandering around, going through the day-to-day life stuff. And then you just, wow, you wake up one day and you're like, damn, I'm almost 30.
Well, I mean,
What's next?
there's people again. There's people that are like, like in their 40s or 50s that I see are still kind of just wandering
Figuring,
around. Yeah.
yeah.
And I'm like, dude, like you've had a long time to figure this out. Like,
Yep.
figuring
They just
you.
never figure it out. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, there's cycles you go through. Um, a lot of you got to have a lot of like reflection, a lot of awareness of who you are as a person, and awareness of your surroundings, awareness of the people in your life, awareness of the decisions you make, the choices you make, and how that impacts you later on down the road, whether it be in the next few minutes, hours, days, months, it all plays a part in what you decide to do ultimately. And I think a lot of people just don't realize that. They're just like, do 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 do, go go. go through this life, until they're on their deathbed, right? And then they're like, what did I spend all my years doing? Like, where are the meaningful relationships that I should have pursued, whether it be like romantic or friendship or platonic. Um, I feel like that's a big thing is the priorities that people put their mind on. A lot of people are like materialistic, like they focus on money things. And what is that going to serve you when you're in the grave? Like, what purpose does that give you?
So
And so, yeah, I've just been doing a lot of thinking like that.
so just talking about like conflict, like do you think
Uh-huh.
like there's that old saying, what was it, like time heals all wounds? Do you think that's necessarily like true?
I feel like it lessens the
Mm.
pain over time. Like as more time goes by, it doesn't affect you as much. And I believe there's truth in that as well. I feel like the biggest problems with the conflict was just open communication and like being able to sit down as people or as adults and be able to say what you have to say and how you're feeling and hope that is received and they're able to understand you. And then, then you give them space to then talk about what is being said. And I feel like that wasn't what was going on. There was just a lot of blaming, not a lot of like understanding, um, and just being able to like, I guess, have some sort of control over your emotions and not like let it impact you in such a negative way where you're not able to just sit down and have a good discussion. And I feel like that's a few of the friendships that have withered because of that, not being able to be on the same page and openly communicate with one another. Communication is really big, and I'm like realizing how like important it
Yeah.
is to have like really good communication skills. And just being able to like relationships you're not taught. That's something you learn. Like it's a skill you can learn. And
It's a for the gamers.
I'm
It's
still
a
learning.
skill you can level up, right?
Achievement.
It's an achievement.
Exactly.
It's
Yeah.
an achievement
Yeah.
you get.
It's an achievement. That's right. Yep. It's a good
Yeah.
point.
I mean, yeah. I feel like, especially when you're younger too, and you get into those conflicts, it's easy
Mhm.
for everybody to want to say what they have to say, but nobody to like really listen to each other. To like really take it
Yes.
in.
Yes. Uh-huh.
Um, which is my
Hmm.
I mean, which is honestly my issue with a lot of things, like especially social media. You mentioned social media
Hmm.
earlier.
Hmm.
I'm not on social media a lot either. Like I go on just to like look at some goofs and gaffs, but that's about it.
Yeah, exactly. Hmm.
Because yeah, it's
Maybe
just
network a little bit. Yeah.
yeah, it's like a lot of people like just screaming into the void, but like nobody's really listening.
Yes. Yes. Right. They're hoping someone's listening. There are some people that listen, but ultimately, and then it's all about like perception and how people want you to perceive them by what they post and what they put out. So it's not always honest. There's not a lot of honesty on there. I feel like it's a lot of like layers of dishonesty. It's just wanting to show a person one perspective of how you are, but not seeing the full spectrum of who you are as a person. Um, and that's why I'm not really big on it either. Um, and there's just a lot of people that they feel very protected behind screens because your face isn't always out there. You can create a profile and put in a bunch of fake information and be able to exist on the internet, be able to say whatever you want and not have any consequences due to that. And I feel like that's what a lot of people like tend to do. They like to get on there and just say a bunch of stuff to get reactions, whether it be positive or negative, just because they want some form of attention. I feel like that's a big
Mm.
thing. A lot of attention seeking is ultimately a big part of like social media. It's all like, look at me and pay attention to me. I have something important to say. I have these brand deals I want to put out. How, yeah,
Yeah. So I think
there's no.
something interesting about us doing this show, and
Hmm.
something we could really push for, is the fact that like with these topics like friendship, they're going to be very different between us because okay,
Hmm.
I'm gonna make some assumptions.
Different upbringing.
Well, not only
Go ahead.
that, but I'm gonna make some assumptions
Oh,
here. I'm a male,
okay.
and
Okay.
you're a female. So our
That is very true.
friendships, yeah, our friendships have been very, very different throughout our lives, just
Yes.
based on that. You know,
Yes.
just like
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
there's a different social dynamic. Um,
That's true.
but yeah,
Hmm.
but you know, so um, that's something we could talk about. Is just like, well, I think when it comes to a lot of male friendships, um,
Hmm.
there's this like unspoken rule of like not communicating your emotions or like how you really feel,
Hmm.
which I think can
Hmm.
sometimes lead to like, you know, kind of like resentment and you know
Yeah.
and miscommunication.
Hmm.
um, but like you know, it's just like a societal norm, right? Like oh, you know, like
Hmm.
we're kind of raised to like not, you know, don't tell your bros how you really
Talk about
feel.
your feelings,
Yeah,
right? Yep.
like you
You got to
know,
be hard.
yeah.
Got to be very masculine. Yeah.
But then like on the over on the female side, what's the playing field when it comes to like
Um, I feel like what I've heard and experienced is dishonesty. Um, I grew up with two brothers, and I was the middle child and the only girl. So that dynamic already like shifted my perspective with that because I grew up around a lot of men, and I was a tomboy growing up, so I felt like friendships with men were pretty like easy for me to get, I feel like, or like it wasn't very hard for me to make friends with the opposite sex. Whereas I feel like female was a little bit more challenging because it's a different dynamic. And as well as I feel like the challenging years, like when you're in school, going through puberty and all the hormones running through your body, like it just brings out a lot of different feelings and thoughts. And I feel like we kind of like have to put off an image. I feel like being beautiful was like a big part of that, like being very presentable, who has like the better things, like I feel like in elementary school, like friendships were so easy. Like, you talk to someone, boom, you're my friend. Then you go into middle school where like the social circles are starting to form a little bit. Like you see the differences. Economical stuff, start to happen. The cliques start to form more. And then high school, oh, it's like a social anarchy. Like it's like a whole nother world. It's like you're in a rainforest fighting for your life. And I feel like we just get so caught up in that. And I've always felt like that we always didn't present like who we truly are, like with women friendships. Um, until like you always had to be aware of, I don't know, like deceit. A lot of it like two-faced, like gossiping. That's what word I'm looking
mm-hmm.
for. Like gossiping, drama and stuff like that. I felt like were very like reoccurring themes. But as well, there's also a dynamic where I guess like again, background. Um, I wasn't. I would say there's like a language barrier almost, like a different generation era, like my mom. So I was close with her, but she also kind of like was very overprotective of me. Um, and that played out with I just didn't what's the word I'm looking for. It was just more of a struggle to, I don't know, get to talk to women and friend women because of that. I just felt like I just had to be a certain way, like get some kind of approval to do that. Whereas like the male relationship, I feel like I could just be whatever,
Mm-hmm.
not be judged for it. That's the word, like judged for
Yeah.
how I am. I don't know. It's just like a different dynamic as well for me. What about you?
I mean,
For
yeah.
like the opposite sex.
Oh, well, you know, there's perception when it comes to like, you know, like there are some people out there that don't believe like the platonic relationship can actually exist, right? Which is
Right.
like I think is like a toxic way to think. You know, is
Uh-huh.
the idea that like oh if a guy and a girl want to be friends, like obviously like it's always like well the guy has other intentions. You know, like that's always
Yes.
you know,
That is
and
a big
it's like
thing.
it's pushed hard in society, like
Mm-hmm.
almost to a point to where like I think it's because like a lot of people looking in on the relationship like have like an unhealthy habit of like wanting there to be more to the relationship, and they just it
Mm,
just isn't allowed just
yeah.
to be a relationship, you know.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that's something we could talk about too, because like we experienced that when we did work together. Because there are people that would just
Oh,
be,
that's true.
yeah, yeah. There's people that'd be like, "Oh, you guys dating?" And it'd be like, "No, like we're just,
Right.
like
We're just friends.
I
Really
was
good friends.
dating
Yeah.
somebody. You are dating somebody. You know, it was like there was,
Hmm.
we would just be like, no, we just, and it was like I wouldn't get mad about it, but like if it was persistent, I'd be like, okay, well, I gotta do something about this. But, um,
Right.
it's it's just something that's hard to keep. Is like that platonic relationship, I think. Um,
Yeah, that image because people want to distort it
yeah,
and put a spin on it when there's like nothing there. And I also think that also comes from maybe their experiences, like they never felt like they could keep it on a platonic level. Like they need some sort of like validation regarding that. Like there has to be something more like the whole I've heard tales of like women just being very nice to men and then they think that there's something more going on. Like it's just not like some people assume like both genders that like friendliness and niceness means that they're interested in you, like you're trying to form like flirting, like that's coming off as
that
flirtatious. Um,
yeah. Do you think that's like from I know from a male perspective, I think that's because like a lot of a lot of like men like kind of like seek that attention or like don't get it,
mm,
they don't get any sort
yeah,
of
yeah.
acknowledgement, and then whenever somebody does acknowledge them, they're like, oh my god, they're in love with me. What I mean? It's like
Yes, like
it
that's
just
what they
goes
jump
all the way
to.
up.
Like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
There's no other reason why they would be saying such nice
Yeah.
things to me because
It's
they
like,
obviously are so into
hey, I
me.
really like your shirt. Like, oh my god, like we're gonna get married one day. It's like,
Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
whoa,
I'd be
whoa, whoa.
interested to study that.
Yeah,
Like the lack of I guess like affection or niceness or and would you say that you feel like that's just because of how like male to male relationships are or
yeah.
I guess like friendships? It's just you can't even compliment another
You,
guy without him like, "Oh,
yeah, it's hard to be like a male friend and like compliment. I mean, like obviously, like there's people that are comfortable with it. Like I'm comfortable with it with my friends.
right. Right, right.
But I think there is a lot of male relationships where like it would be like if you're like, hey man, I like your shirt, and it'd be like, oh okay, whatever. Be like, oh man, that's gay. Why would you say that? It's like,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
that's gay, like that sort of thing. And that's common. And it's
Yes.
like it can really affect your mental health. And it's also common, and I experienced this too. Whenever you have like a really close male friend, for other men to be like, oh man, you guys are both gay together. Like you guys are both
Like you
like
guys are so close.
yeah, and
Yeah.
it's like like they don't like friendships aren't a thing that people are, I don't know, as accepting to. I think when it comes to that stuff,
Right.
you know,
It's because I feel like they don't know have they don't know what a close friendship is like to be able to be open without um associating that with like intimacy, like relationships when they don't realize that's what those are like two different
oh yeah,
things. Like there's all different forms of intimacy.
it's true. It's true. And you mentioned something that like I've never really thought about is that yeah, whenever you're in like elementary school and you have friends, you can literally be like, "Oh man, you like the color blue? I like the color blue." Like, holy crap! Like we're
We're best friends now.
yeah, yeah. But
Yes.
then like when you get older, it's like, "Oh man, you like the color blue," and it's like, "Oh, you don't really like the color blue. Can name 5 shades of the color blue."
Blue. Yes.
You're a poser. It's
Yes.
like okay, we can't.
Yeah. Oh, your favorite
It's
color is actually green. Like we won't get along then.
yeah, yeah. And it's like, man, it's like because I have that issue a lot where I see because again I'm into like really nerdy stuff or like certain stuff,
Hmm.
and I see like other people that are into
Hmm.
that stuff, and like it's hard to
Hmm.
approach them because I'm like I can't just be like, oh man, you like this thing, I also like this thing. We should just be friends because it's like it doesn't really work. It
Yeah.
doesn't really work like that, and it should.
It's change. It should. Why do we ever change those simple ways of just like making friends? Why do we have to bring in things that ultimately don't matter in the end? Because that's not who makes a person, you know? Like
Yeah,
there's societal or the economical differences, cultural differences, race. Like why are those things interfering with just getting to know who a person
and
is?
it's
Like
true. Well,
getting to know the personality. Yeah.
and it's true. I try to keep a little bit of that intact when I make friends. Like
Hmm.
And again, I can't talk about like where or who, but there is somebody that comes into my work, and you have seen them.
Hmm.
That I'm their friend just because like we like to talk about One Piece, and he shows up, and there is like a bit of like a language barrier, and there's definitely
Right.
like a
Right.
cultural barrier. But one day I
Uh-huh.
noticed he was talking about One Piece, and I was like, I like One
Hmm.
Piece, so no, every time I see
Hmm.
him, we just talk about One Piece, and I'm like, why can't that just be a thing? Like why can't this
Right.
be
Why
more
can't we
common?
just bond on mutual interests?
Yeah,
Why we gotta focus on the differences? Or just like, being receptive or open that,
yeah,
okay, my favorite color is purple, your favorite color is orange. That's cool. Like, tell me why is orange your favorite color? Let's talk about that. Let's get to like delve into that.
yeah.
Instead of being like, ew, like your
Ew,
favorite color is orange, like my favorite
orange.
color is purple. We won't get along. We can't be friends. Like, yeah, orange is such an ugly color, you know? Like, why can't we make it more simple? It doesn't have to be that hard.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be that hard.
It doesn't have to be that hard.
It's
But
true.
for some reason it is.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's even more so stressed as the older you get because I feel like people are already like settled in their friendships. So like the thought of like inviting up new people is just like not as common. Or just like you have those opportunities at like school, after school activities, like you go there, you can make friends. Whereas the older you get, like it's just really like jobs. Maybe grocery store if you're lucky. Maybe if you're like you have those cool hobbies that allow you to like connect with other people,
Hmm.
which I feel like is like a plus for like social media. That's another like a plus that could help people on social media is like connecting with people that have like the same interests or hobbies as you. Which is the only reason why I've really used it is just like keeping up with those friendships that aren't in person, but like online, as they say, in like different states, different areas of the world.
And that's more common, I think, now too. And I have that a lot.
Hmm.
Like I have friends close to me, but some of them I haven't talked. I've talked to like like they've sent me a message and been like, hey, like I had one friend that whenever the Switch 2 stuff was announced and stuff, he was like sending me stuff about it, and I hadn't talked to him in like 2 years, and I was just like, hey man, what's up? We were just talking about like
Hey, yeah, right?
how awful the Switch 2 was, like the price, but
Uh-huh.
but yeah, but most of my friendships, yeah, are like online, like because I do podcasts and I do videos and I meet people that
Hmm.
way. So yeah,
Hmm.
it's like whenever I'm like, oh yeah, I was talking to a friend, and it's like, but my friend lives in like Canada or my friend lives in like New York or whatever. And
Right?
it's like
And it's so cool to learn about like how life is different for them just
yeah.
because of where they're at geographically.
Well, and you recently moved, so I wanted to ask you on the topic of
Uh-huh.
friendships, like being at the age you are and moving, like how is like finding or making new friendships, like how is that going?
There?
Yeah.
It's actually not too bad. And I feel like it's because I feel like I'm a naturally, I always get this a lot, like sociable. People think I'm outgoing. Like that's like the impression I give off just
They
because
think
I
you're outgoing.
enjoy like
Are you
talking to
not
people.
outgoing?
I feel like I fluctuate between the two. Like there are times where I feel like I have like a limit, like a social battery. And once
Mm.
that battery is depleted, I'm like, don't talk to me. I'm not really like responsive on like the phone. I'm just like holed up in my little right here, dark room, just doing my own thing,
Yeah.
without like other people interfering. But like it's easier for me to then like I feel like it's not so hard, like easier to text than to like, hey, let's meet up and do something. But otherwise than that, no, I feel like yes, I can see that. It's kind of funny because the same thing, like the growing up, like through the school years, I was a very people would say I was a very shy, reserved, quiet kind of person, you know. So it's kind of funny to see me now, years after, and everybody's like, "You're so outgoing. You're so like sociable. I love like talking to you is so easy," you know. And I feel like that also just because of like childhood. Childhood plays a big part in shaping your perspective and your views and your values and all that. So I grew up in a very, I feel like it's common, like childhood trauma. Interesting dynamics is like very hush hush. Don't talk to people. Um, like when hard things did happen, conflict, we didn't talk about it. Like, we just never resolved. So I then grew up doing the same thing. Like, when bad stuff would happen, I was like, okay, cool. This is it. Cool. Like, we don't have to talk about it. Like, we can just sweep it under
Danelle,
the rug. But then, like,
did you just say a
internally,
did you just say a
I did. I
swear?
did say a cuss
Oh
word.
my
I did.
god. I
It
don't
slipped
know.
out.
Is that the first cuss word of the episode?
Yep,
I'm surprised.
it sure
I
is.
thought it was gonna be
You
me.
started a counter on me.
There we go. The,
I broke the seal first.
the
Yep.
cuss counter. You have to put
Yep.
a imaginary
Put a
dollar
little
in the
counter
yeah in the
per
jar.
episode. Okay. All right. You can take my dollar.
uh,
But I just, yes, conflict. Very swept under the rug, but like we would talk about it, but internally it would eat me up because I felt like I just had feelings to express that I never got a chance to. And so I felt like due to that, like whenever anything would happen, I felt disrespected, I felt wronged. I never voiced it. Like they would never know anything was wrong. I would just be like, cool, sweep it on the rug. And then I feel like that kind of shaped me into what they call it, having outbursts. Like,
yeah.
and it wouldn't be anything major. It'd be a very small disagreement. That would be like the last straw, and then I would just erupt from holding everything in all the time, and that would happen a lot throughout the years when I was younger. And like, I'm always doing this. I'm getting off topic.
That's
But basically, um, friendships in Texas isn't too bad because I'm very good, I guess, at finding new jobs. I guess because it's also a big city that I'm in. Job opportunities are a lot more than where we're at or where I came from.
yeah.
Smaller city. So with me getting I'm now finally settling in a job field that I like, medical, and I've actually been able to make a couple good friends in it because I feel like the crowd in those settings, it's people around my age, which is very easy to like socialize and get along with. I can, talk to anybody, any age group. And I think the funny thing is that I'm still shocking people with how I see like what they perceive my age to be and how old I really am. A lot
Yeah.
of people think I'm still in my younger
Yeah,
20s, so
they're like
it's kind of
wait a
funny.
second, you're 12, right?
Yes, I'm even younger than that. I'm so well, I'm nowhere near 30. No, couldn't be
um,
me.
so being in Texas doesn't help if you put on like a 10-gallon hat and you have like a little southern drawl, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
right. Everything's bigger in Texas, you know?
Shoot, shoot. Is that what you do whenever you leave the house? You're just like when you're home, you're just like this, and when you leave the house, you're like, "We're darn tootin'," you know. Just
Well, snap. Yeah. It's actually not as prevalent as I thought, but there are those people that do, and when I interact them, I don't know, I feel like I've always done that, and I think I've looked it up, and it said it's just our way of wanting to, like,
you pair it.
connect with someone on their level. Yes, you pair it. You wanted them to feel comfortable, but then you, even though I don't really consider mimic, because I feel like that's, like, a negative connotation, you mimic their accent, and that's what happens, like, it brings out that southern drawl that exists deep in me just because of where I grew up in the South.
Well, and just speaking from lived experience,
Mm-hmm.
I think you are. I think you're easy to approach. So I think making friendships for
Mm-hmm.
you would be easier. I think
Yeah.
I have the opposite problem where people think I'm kind of like shy, but I'm not really shy. I'm just reserved.
No,
I'm just
honestly,
reserved.
yes, you are reserved. I get that. I don't know if you would be shy, but you seem like you were like a go-getter, like you're about the book, like, how do I say this? Because I was new, and then they're like, oh yeah, you'll be working over there with him. And my first impression was that you were a hard worker because you were by yourself, there, doing all the work solo. And I don't know, you seem like it's very by the book. Like the company says this is how you do this, and that's exactly how you're going to do, basically, I guess.
Yeah.
And I didn't know you would be so damn sarcastic. Oh, that's two. With the
Oh
dollar.
well, no. Damn doesn't count. Damn's like a half, right?
Damn does it count? It's more
Damn
okay.
is damn
Okay.
really like a cuss word? Like I think
It's crazy because
I'm
it was
pre-
a big thing
I'm
for
pretty
us growing up,
I'm
yeah,
pretty
or
sure
for
you
me.
could say damn in like a PG-13 movie. Does that really count?
Oh, and they
And
wouldn't like censor it and say
yeah,
that
like damn's.
warning or
I think damn is edgy if you're like a middle school kid, maybe. You know,
yeah.
if you're
Yeah.
like in
Good way to put
sixth
it.
grade, you know, and you're just like,
Yeah.
damn.
Yeah. Oh,
Oh.
it's a bad word.
um.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have the opposite problem. I think too, where like I think there's some there's some situations, a lot of situations probably where like maybe I'm not as approachable as I want to be. Um, and I don't know how to work on that really.
I feel
um,
like it's just the thing, you know.
yeah,
I'm a very smiley person. I love smiling at people. I don't know. I don't say it's always been my thing. It's just my thing now. If I make eye contact with somebody and I don't know who they are, my first instinct is to smile at. I think that's what presents me as a very open, very easy to talk to person. Because who wouldn't want to approach someone who has a smile on their face or like inviting you in, like come talk to me, say
that's
hi.
true.
I don't bite. I think it's also just how you present yourself. Yeah. Funnily enough, in high school, I was told multiple times because that was another thing. I moved high schools. I grew up in the same town. I went to school from kindergarten all the way up to junior year of high school. I moved, went to a bigger high school, which is crazy. But like all the new friends I made then told me that I was intimidating, that they were scared to talk to me because I had a very straight face, and that's because I didn't know anybody. And so I didn't realize it, but they said I had the lovely RBF.
Oh, you're just stone facing it the whole time, right?
Stone facing it.
Yeah.
Unapproachable. Unapproachable. But then they're like, but you're like the nicest person ever. Like once they got to know me, it was kind of funny.
Yeah.
But they're like, I was just thought you'd be such like a hard ass. Or like, I thought you'd be so mean. Like they thought I was mean.
Yeah, and
It's kind of
I've
funny.
gotten that too, and which is funny because
Hmm.
I try to just joke around with everybody, and
Right.
that's sort of like how I try to approach people is just like, oh, through
Hmm.
humor, like, you know, if I make you laugh, then, you know, we're good, right? Uh,
Yeah. See, making people laugh is always a good thing too. We
but
love
like
to laugh.
but I've gotten it the opposite too. Like again, I've worked in management for different places before,
Hmm.
which I think is why I was like, you know, very
Hmm.
by the book. Maybe that's why you got that impression. But and I've
Ah, yes.
yeah,
Okay.
I've worked in management, and I've had people that worked under me. You know, I've joked around or done whatever, you know, but I've just kind of been like me and my cadence. And then I've had people like approach me, and you know, that like have known me, and they were like, "Oh, the new person." They were asking why you were so mean, or like why you were this way, and I had to tell them, "Oh, you were just kidding around with them," or you know, you. It's like
That's his humor, guys.
some people just don't
It's
get
very
it. You know what I mean?
sarcastic.
And so like
They don't. Yes.
that's a flawed approach, maybe to like people. You know?
Yeah.
So that's
Absolutely.
something.
No, I've been there. I was actually the person on that receiving end where I thought maybe you're just being mean, and that's because there was a point where I just didn't understand jokes, right? I took people for their literal word. Like I thought like you meant it, but and then I learned that people are joke. They like to say jokes, but it kind of flies over people's head because of the tone as well. Like you say it in a serious manner, I'm gonna believe
Oh
that you
yeah,
mean that word for word.
dry
So people will be
delivery.
like, you need to loosen up. Yeah, say like you need to loosen up. Like you need to learn how to take a joke, or like people would tell me I was just too stoic. Like I was just,
Mm,
like I need to laugh, have fun. And I was like, oh dang. That was
yeah.
also something that was said to me when I was younger as well. Yeah.
I think that's my problem too. Is I like to be sarcastic, but again,
Hmm.
I deliver it in the same cadence as I would anything else. So you know, so
They just take you for what you're saying. They're like, oh my God.
I understand the confusion, which you know is funny because if a lot of people, if you're watching the show or if you watch like the other stuff I do,
Uh-huh.
like okay, so it's important to like note that whenever you do, which is Danelle, this is your first time doing a podcast. Welcome.
I know. What
That
the frick?
whenever you do something like this, you're sort of like you're yourself, but you're like
Hmm.
like a more like performative like version of yourself, right? Like I know that
Right,
I
right.
know right now that I am on screen
Hmm.
being listened to by people, so I have to be
Hmm.
like this version of me. But like in my day to day life, like I'm not putting on a
Uh-huh.
performance, right? I'm just me,
Right.
you know. So
Right.
um,
Yeah.
so yeah, I could probably come off that way. So that's something to think about is like how you approach people when it comes to
Hmm.
comes to like joking around or just like even if you want to
Hmm.
make friends, like it's important to think about like have some self perspective. How do you look right now?
No,
Like do
literally. How
you
are they
are you
perceiving
yeah
me?
are you approachable?
Yes, yes. I find myself doing that. Like, in the early years, I was always in my head about how I may be seen by other people. I was very, very cautious and very too, I felt like I mean, that's just those teenage years for you.
Mm.
You're just too self-conscious. You're too aware of yourself to the point that you think people are thinking, that's well, another thing that was like fear of people thinking a different thing or a different image of me than I'm trying to present.
Yeah,
And that was like a big fear of mine
it's literally,
was people looking at me
dude.
in a
I
different way. I'm like,
I remember literally walking down like the hallway in high school and being like, "Am I walking
uh-huh.
weird? Like, am I walking okay? Should I change the way I'm walking? And it's
Should I straighten my
yeah,
posture?
like
Should I be making eye contact? Should I be looking
should
at the
I
ground?
like
Should I not be looking at the
swagger a little
ground?
bit or something? Like you know,
Make myself look cool?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
No,
because
absolutely.
and
Same
like
way.
yeah, and like again, as a male, I feel like there's you'll take those little things, people, those like little bits of reception you do get, like someone being like,
Hmm.
say someone's like, oh man, you walk like you don't care, or something, and then you just take that and like your brain amplifies it to where you're like,
Yes. They're
like
like,
you just focus on that, it's like, oh my god, I walk like I don't
it's like
care.
being mean to you. Yeah, like, oh my God. Like they make it seem like your brain perceives like it's the worst thing ever. How
Yeah.
could you be walking around here like you
Like you
don't
don't
care? You have to
care, like
care.
you don't
What's
give a
wrong with you?
fudge.
Yeah.
All
Our
right.
brains, man. Scary things.
I think a fun exercise for this episode would be
Hmm.
the Alex and Danelle top 5 tips for making friends.
Okay.
How
I
about
like
that?
that.
How about
I
that?
like that.
So
Okay.
I
You
think
want to go with tip one?
the first one we kind of already talked about is just finding a common interest. I think that's the easiest
Hmm.
way to make a friendship. Is just,
Hmm.
if you see somebody and they have a cool band on their shirt and you like that band, just
Right.
be like,
Uh-huh.
hey, I like that one. Like I like that band. I like
Hmm.
this album or something, and see if something sparks. So
Right.
sometimes it
Right.
doesn't. It's very
Hmm.
common that it doesn't, but hey, you never know. They may want to. They may have been waiting all day to talk about that band. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. And you gave them a perfect chance to do so. You guys were bonding over that mutual interest.
yeah,
And then don't be scared if it doesn't go anywhere. That maybe you
yeah,
don't, and then you have to be receptive to like how they are. Like just because they're not wanting to talk to you doesn't mean that they're trying to be mean to you or are attacking you in any way. Or like rejection doesn't it's not the like it's the worst thing that can happen to you.
yeah,
And it's okay. There's a billion other people in the world that you could, approach and it might pick off. I feel
sure.
like people are scared of like rejection. And that's one
They are.
thing. It's just and like the fact and it's an ego thing too. Like, can you imagine just like coming up to someone being open and they just like shut you down? You're just like, they just like broke my heart. Like they just hurt me. And like not taking things personally, like in that manner, I feel like.
Danelle, what's tip number 2?
Tip number two. Tip number two. Um, I feel like as much as you should focus on being able to communicate and talk, I feel like a big tip is learning to listen. Be a listener. People love listeners. People love the talk. You just got to like if you show yourself that you're willing to listen, people will open up to you. And that means like actually taking in, like not listening to respond, but listening to actually take in what they're saying and then forming something at the end to reply with if they want to talk about such and such more. So I feel like a big skill is just, yeah, be a listener.
A third one, and this one's happened to me a lot. It's not being too overbearing. I think is a good tip. Like, yeah, a friendship can get to a point to where you have like more intimacy, or you can like be like, oh, hey, after work you want to go do this, or like, hey, this weekend we're doing this, you want to go hang out, or like, hey, can I call
Mm-hmm.
you? But
Mm-hmm.
just like if you just make friends with somebody right off the bat, and you guys are having or have a common interest or whatever it is that sparked the conversation or the friendship, take your time. Like, don't yeah, it's sure it can be exciting to have a new friend, but
Mm-hmm.
don't call them over and over. Don't because there's a likelihood you're gonna chase them off. I think that's important.
Yeah.
It's like give them
Yeah.
space, give the friendship space to grow.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes. I would like to say to add to that, it's just like match the energy,
yeah,
vibes, the attention. If they're really heavy on like messaging, you could always match that. If they're a little bit more spacious, just give them a little space too. I feel like that's what help
yeah.
not being
Because like, well, and like I've had friends that like like they were nice people, but like yeah, they were just it was just too much. They would just they would
hmm
message me. I was trying the nicest way I could, which is by not responding, is just to tell them like I don't want to talk right now. Like I'm just kind of
hmm
I don't want to do it. But then they just keep sending you
hmm
stuff. And it's important to
hmm
like understand that it's okay to scale back.
Yeah, exactly. Like give them time to formulate a reply to the last thing. If you keep sending things, you're gonna make builds up. It's just too much to get back to. Then yeah,
Yeah.
create a whole rift.
Okay, what's number 4?
Now I have to think of step four. Four. Um, dang, you got me. We have mutual interests.
We got
I got
dinner.
it. Mutual interest.
Yeah, mutual
Don't.
interest.
Yep. Be a good listener.
Yeah.
Don't be overbearing. Um, oh, I got one. Something that I needed to work on. Be a man of your word. Be a
Hmm.
man, woman of your word. Um, like if you're making plans or someone's making plans with you, um, follow through. Like even if say something comes up, maybe you woke up and you're not feeling it, like be able to power through because you want to honor, the time that that person's taking out of their day or and wanting to like spend time with you to I guess like build that friendship, solid that. No one likes a flaky person. Like you're constantly making plans and they're not following through. Like it's just like a waste of it. And no one likes wasting their time. Um, so just following through, unless there's something like major going on, like you're sick, family emergency, like something's happening financially, a financial problem, I could understand, not plans happening. But if you're just not feeling up to it, like there's been a lot of times where I just didn't feel like doing something and someone pushed me to do it. And then I was actually like had a lot of fun and I like really happy that I decided to do it instead of like, and regret. You're going to regret not doing it. There's a few plans over my life that I didn't follow through and I regret not, being a part of it. Like time spent is very valuable, especially like,
And I think step number 5, and I think or tip number 5, and I think this is one that you'll
mm-hmm,
also agree with, and it's something that I think you do hear growing up, um, but it is important. It's to be yourself. If you, yeah,
yeah,
because
that's a great one.
if you
Yeah.
are an artificial version of yourself, guess what? You're gonna make an artificial friendship. That's exactly what that's
Yep.
gonna be, and you're not gonna have any real connection to that.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna be very superficial, and that's just gonna be that, and nobody. I think everybody that builds a friendship wants it to be a little deeper than this, just
Mm-hmm.
surface level, like whatever.
Yes.
So yeah, just make sure
Right.
you're yourself. Just be honest, be open, and be
Yeah.
yourself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I like that
Yeah.
because, we want to be able to connect. We're very social beings. We love connecting with people, like communities. So by not being yourself, you're kind of limiting yourself on like being able to deepen the friendships and like who are you can't call that person at 2 a.m. if something were to happen. Um, You can't like if someone wants someone to talk to if something exciting is going on in their life, something bad going on in life. Like being able to talk about things like that is, I feel like, crucial for us as people, just being able to talk, being heard. Can't do that with superficial friendships.
It's true. So those are the Alex and Danelle top 5 tips for building friendships. Take those, use
Yeah,
them.
you remember it?
Okay, it was oh my god, I'm already stumbling. I got it. I got it.
Mutual interest.
Mutual
You
interest.
got it. Oh,
Mutual interest.
right.
Okay. It was mutual interest.
Mm-hmm.
I may get these out of order. Listening, being an open listener. Was that one of them?
Mm-hmm.
Um.
Yep.
Damn it! I did the other one too. Damn it! That's another the swear for the swear jar. Middle school swear jar. Oh my god! How,
$3.
how is my short term memory this bad? How is it this bad? Okay, hold on. Mutual interest. Um, listening. Um, don't be a burden. Don't be overburdening them.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
what was the second to last one you said? It was really important, and I forgot what it was. Um, oh my god! Hold on. Hold on.
Consistency.
Oh yes, keep your word. That was it, right? Keep your word. Be a
Mm-hmm.
be a be a man or woman of your word.
Mm-hmm.
And the last one was be yourself. There you go. There's your top 5 tips from a man who couldn't remember his own tips. Um, take
Comes with
those.
age, guys. No worries.
Take those. Use them for what you will. If they don't work,
Mhm.
do not sue us. We don't have a lawyer.
We don't exactly. We are not professionals. We're
Yeah.
just giving you tips that work for us.
You know what? That is important for us to know. Like we are not mental health professionals. We are mental health survivors here on the show.
Yeah, I like that. Yes, yes. We have our badges.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Hey, Danelle, we're doing this show hopefully bi-weekly. So
Okay.
since we are, and we're talking about personal subjects, I kind of want to get a little personal in these episodes, and I'm curious, like,
Okay.
what have you been enjoying recently? It can be literally anything: a game, movie, show, book, sandwich,
What have I been enjoying
coffee,
recently?
anything.
I have been enjoying also a lot of good things. Discovering new places because I'm in a new area. Finding like cool coffee shops. I've been on a matcha kick recently.
Ooh,
Um, I've really enjoyed the job I'm working at now. It's like helping me figure out my future, like what I want to do career wise, and just being able to be like fortunate enough to move to do so and to move and be with boyfriend. I'm very grateful.
what's your you cut out a little, I think you cut out a little bit your mic. I don't know how
Oh
close.
no.
Yeah, it's fine. It's
Is that better?
yeah,
I
yeah.
leaned too far back, I
Too
suppose.
back, too far back, Janelle.
Too far back.
Yeah,
Yep, we gotta sit up.
you need to
Guys,
get your mic that
posture check.
you need to get your mic arm so you
I
can
do.
lean
You're
back
right.
and
Mhm.
what's your matcha beverage of choice right now?
I love vanilla and lavender. Those are like
Ooh,
my top flavors for matcha. I've been told I need to try strawberry matcha. I think I like almost tried one, but it wasn't what I thought it was. But I feel like it was just they didn't understand what I wanted, so I want to give it another try. Um, but yeah,
L-
lavender and vanilla.
lavender is too floral for me.
Really? I
Yeah,
swear it's. But I feel
it,
like the vanilla offsets that.
yeah, I don't know if it's the taste. I think it's the smell. I think it's because it
Oh,
smells like laundry. Lavender to me smells like
what?
laundry. Like it
But
smells like
have
a
you had
it smells like a dryer
a
sheet.
lavender matcha or lavender beverage?
Yes.
Like heavy, like coffee, maybe?
Yes.
No?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I didn't dig it. I don't know. I don't. It was just
Was it
too.
just lavender though?
No, it was. I've done a lavender latte, like a lavender oat
Oh,
milk
okay.
latte. I've done that.
I recommend adding vanilla. I feel like it would change that
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it probably would sweeten it
strong
up.
floral. It does sweeten it up, and
Yeah.
I feel like it uh, kind of like offsets that the floralness of the lavender. I've been told people compare it to when you do lavender, vanilla, and matcha. It tastes like fruity pebbles.
Hmm. Okay. I'll have to try that. I'll
Yeah.
have to try that.
So yes, yes.
Yeah. You know me.
What about you?
I'm more of a chai guy, so I usually
I
I
know.
usually stick with my
I haven't even
chais.
tried the cherry blossom.
I always drink a nice chai. That's my downfall. I just wanted to just something I've been enjoying recently is an album.
Hmm.
I want to recommend an album for the people at
Ooh.
home.
Okay.
This is from 2 years ago, but I'm old, and sometimes it takes me a minute to get around to listening to things. Um, it's a hip hop album by Aesop Rock called
Hmm.
Integrated Tech Solutions, and
Ooh.
it
Okay.
has some really good like it sounds really like electronic. And I don't know
Hmm.
if you're familiar with Aesop Rock, but he's like a more indie hip hop artist. And
Okay.
what I like about him is like a lot of his song, like he's a really good lyricist, and a lot of his songs
Hmm.
are more experimental with their themes. And so sometimes they may have like a really simple premise. Like there's a song on this album where he literally is singing about going to the park and drawing pigeons. But it really becomes more about by the end he's talking about like he's talking to his friend about how he decided he wants to draw 1,000 of them, and his friend asked how many has he drawn, and he said about 6 or 7. And then his friend goes, "Wait, a
Oh.
thousand is a lot." So it really becomes more about him, like becoming a little too ambitious, for his own
Yeah.
good,
Yeah. Hmm.
which I think we're all guilty of. And I don't know, it's just
Yes. Yes. Hmm.
we're all guilty of being like, "Oh man,
Absolutely.
I'm gonna do this thing," and you just bite off more than you can chew.
Yep.
I don't know. I just think it's a really good album, so I wanted to recommend that to the nice people at home. If you like hip hop, give it a listen.
Definitely
If
give that a listen. Thank you.
and if you don't listen to music from 2 years ago, I'm sorry.
Right. It's to pass your time. Yes. You're missing out.
I could imagine there are people like that though, right? That like don't listen, like that won't
I feel like
listen
there
to
is. There's all sorts of people. I have seen everything, and I wouldn't be surprised if
like
there were like two.
2023. I'm not listening to
Ugh.
that. Ugh. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm gonna listen to the.
There's me listening to music from all the eras, 90s, 80s,
Oh yeah, I feel like
2000s.
music is timeless, right? It's just
Yes,
so.
absolutely.
Um, and I don't have a coffee beverage to recommend today.
Ooh.
So I could just
Fake coffee drinker.
I look. I'm a simple guy, and recently I've just been going. Look, the last 2 months I've been going hard on the iced americanos, and it's
Really? That's
yeah,
been how many per day?
one, but it's a big one,
Okay.
and it has 5 shots.
Oh, go big or go home.
And that's
That's the Texas way, man.
that's I start my morning with a nice large uh, iced americano with 5 shots of espresso, and then the rest of the day
Mhm.
I drink water. So,
Just good old water.
yeah, I ride it out. So yeah, this was fun. I think I can't. I don't want to check the time, because I would have to exit out of the full screen mode, and it would ruin the recording. But I think we're like there. I don't know. I feel like we're like at an hour,
5:43
right?
for you.
I feel
Yeah.
like we're at an hour, right?
Oh, we hit that hour mark. Look at
I
us.
think so.
It
All right.
feels like it. No, I'm just kidding.
All right, people at home, if you have topics that you want us to talk about, like leave or questions or topics, like we'd be happy to
Hmm.
talk about them
Absolutely.
or
I do
answer
love a
them.
good talk.
Yeah,
Hmm.
leave them
Yeah. Questions. Yeah.
in the comments. If you want to recommend me a drink with lavender in it, um, you can try.
Suggestions. Yeah.
I might try it. I probably won't.
Lavender vanilla.
All right, I'll let you know.
You should.
Okay, look, I'm gonna make you a promise. By the next episode,
Okay.
I will have tried lavender. What is it? Lavender vanilla matcha.
Hmm.
Is it hot or iced? Do you want it?
I do iced.
Okay, I'm gonna go ice. I'm an ice drinker too. Okay. I'm gonna do
Perfect.
ice lavender vanilla
Mhm.
matcha, and I will let you know my thoughts.
Yes.
And if I,
Give it to
but
me brutal.
here, but yeah, here's the stakes. If I am disappointed by the ice lavender vanilla matcha,
Okay.
I get to say something mean to you
Okay.
live on the podcast.
Live. I will agree to these terms.
I get to publicly shame you. How about that?
Yeah. Yeah. For giving an awful suggestion. Absolutely.
Awesome. Thanks for listening, everybody. Hopefully, you got something out of this today. Thank you, Danelle, for being.
Thank you, Alex.
Yeah. Yeah. See ya.
Good to see you.